Okay, well, let's now cross over to Kamel Hawwash, who's a Palestinian academic, analyst and writer who joins us live now from Birmingham. Kamel, let me just quickly ask you for your initial reaction to everything that has potentially happened in the last 24 hours, from the absolute highs to the absolute lows, the fact that the two sides have they have failed to reach an agreement for a limited peace deal.
Well, the signs that were coming out from the Qataris, the Egyptians, and the Americans really were that it is down to Hamas to accept, and it has. And now it's gone to Netanyahu, who is acting as if he's a dictator, not the leader of a democratic country, because calls are not only coming from outside the country for a ceasefire and for acceptance of this deal, they're coming from the Americans, the Egyptians, the Qataris, and from the Israeli people themselves. I heard a comment from one of these protesters that you show on the screen that since Hamas has accepted this, unless Netanyahu accepts this, they will burn the country down. That's what I heard. You can understand the level of anger. But it seems that so much rests on the will of one person that just doesn't compare with other democracies where there would at least be a consultation with others. I want to see a ceasefire so that the Palestinian people can stop being killed and being moved around as if they are cattle, move from this area to that area, from this area to that area. That's not an acceptable way to do this. And anyone who accepted that Israel had the right to self-defense on the 7th of October now realizes, and has realized for a long time, that 7 months, 40,000 almost Palestinians killed, that is no acceptable level of self-defense. So this must come to an end immediately.
Kamel, you mentioned there that everything is happening because of one person not wanting to agree. So what do you think can be the leverage that can be placed upon Israel's Prime Minister Netanyahu to come to the table and to stop his offensive in Gaza, to come back from hostilities?
Well, first of all, internal pressure from Israelis who should say enough is enough, this war must come to an end. It must come from the Israeli military leaders who have told Netanyahu there's nothing much more to be gained from this continued war, but more to lose if they continue attacking Rafah, where it could end up with thousands of Palestinians being slaughtered, again, because one person thinks that that is what he wants to see to achieve his goals. The other thing is the pressure from the outside. Every country around the world should be saying to Netanyahu, Hamas has accepted this deal, you should accept as well. Let's get on with the release of the hostages. Let's get on with the Palestinians returning to their homes, reconstruction, and certainly a flooding of aid into Gaza for these poor Palestinian people who have been starved deliberately as a weapon of war, which is despicable by this Israeli government.
Well, you talk there about internal pressure. I don't know if you're listening to our correspondent, Nizar Sadawi, who is live just before you from Istanbul. He talked about this being a domestic issue. If Hamas are no longer in the picture, if they're no longer in charge, could that perhaps force the issue and bring a peace of sorts, if not a lasting peace?
Well, what these people are calling for is the release of the hostages. They haven't mentioned what they want to see on the Palestinian side, because that is actually their only concern in this war. But what we have to look at, sitting outside this war zone, if you like, is what is the long term. And the long term must be about the reconstruction of Gaza, the Palestinians going back to their homes if they can, for the reconstruction to be rapid, for the infrastructure to be rebuilt, hospitals, schools, universities, electricity stations, and then for a political solution to be sought, where the Palestinians can achieve their rights to self-determination, whether it is in one state or two states. That's not really the issue. But the Israelis have got to accept, and this comes from the top as well, people like Ben Gvir and Smotrich and Netanyahu, that without the Palestinians attaining their rights, Israel will not have security. They have seen this repeatedly happen, and even if they think they have crushed the Palestinians from a military point of view, it'll probably be a temporary thing, and the Palestinians will again find ways of resisting, using all possible means under international law, which includes armed resistance. At the moment, the Palestinians are repeatedly being told to pursue peaceful means. Netanyahu says no to a Palestinian state, and in fact, we also hear of escalating settler violence. We hear of settlers saying they want to re-establish settlements in Gaza. That is not peace talk. What is needed in the medium to long term is an initiative for peace that respects the rights of the Palestinians and ensures that everyone on the land in historic Palestine lives in peace and security.
Now, Kamel, a word that has been used to describe the people, the Palestinian people, the word used today has been resilient. What do you feel Palestinians can do for themselves in this moment as they wait for the politics to take care of itself?
I mean, first of all, you probably saw the children dancing in the streets, thinking that the hostilities, the American bombs, will stop falling on them, and that seems to have been short-lived for the time being. The Palestinians are resilient. Some of them have lost absolutely everything except the clothes they left their homes in, and I mean, so that shows you they've lost everything, but they've been resilient. They've resorted to trying to find different ways of feeding themselves and their children, of creating shelter even from some of the parachutes that came down. They have tried to keep schooling going for the children, because that's a serious matter. They've lost their education, the students have. Today there was a viva for a master's student in a tent. So they are resilient. They're trying to continue with life, and it is to show the Israeli public as well as the international community that the Palestinians are a peace-loving movement, people. What they want to do is to live, to have the same opportunity for them and their children as every other people have, but particularly Israeli people. There can be no denial of the Palestinian right and peace and security for the Israelis.
Indeed. Well, Kamel Hawwash, academic in Birmingham, we're going to have to leave it there, but thank you for your analysis on this, unfortunately, failed Hamas-Israel agreement to a ceasefire.